Edward Baugh, Deputy Dean in the Faculty of Humanities and Education, Dr. Saran Stewart, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It is my great pleasure once again to welcome you to the 2019 staging of the Edward Baugh Distinguished Lecture, organized by the Department of Literatures and English in honor of Professor Emeritus, renowned critic and scholar of Caribbean literature and the work of Derek Walcott in particular, poet, former dean and vice dean of the faculty, former head of department, former university orator, esteemed and respected Professor Edward Baugh. And I'm just going to add to that long list to let you know that very recently Professor Baugh was inducted into the American Academy of Arts and Sciences for his contribution to literature and language studies. I think I heard him saying, I don't know why, but we all know why. Congratulations, Prof. Mrs. Baugh has sent apologies for her unavoidable absence this evening. We know that if it was possible for her to be here, she would be here, but unfortunately she could not be. Year after year, we have counted on the unfailing support of Professor and Mrs. Baugh for this lecture series. It's a series that has gone from strength to strength, and they are no small part of its success. This year, the lecture forms part of the department's series of events in celebration of the centenary of the birth of the Honorable Louise Bennett Coverley. I believe I can safely say that for all of us in the department, it is a very special pleasure to have Professor Morris deliver the lecture this year. Mervyn was, of course, invited to give the lecture because he is one of the leading scholars on Bennett's work. But it is an especially happy moment for us because of the long association that goes back many, many years between Professor Morris and Professor Baugh as colleagues in the department. So for us, it feels very much like a family affair. And on the point of family, I want to extend a special welcome and a word of thanks for their continued support to former members of the department who are here with us this evening. I've already mentioned Professors Baugh and Morris, but let me also add Professor Maureen Warner-Lewis, Professor Carolyn Cooper, I'm sure she's not here yet, she's on her way, and Dr. Victor Chang. All of them inspiring examples of brilliance and generosity in their academic careers, and in whose footsteps those of us who are now in the department now follow. Ladies and gentlemen, the program will proceed without announcement. I hope you all have copies, and I'm going to ask persons who are to speak to simply come up in the order as indicated. We did get a notice, some advice that Dr. Saran Stewart, who is bringing greetings on behalf of the Dean of the Faculty, Professor Waibinte Wariboko, he was unable to attend and he sent his apologies, and Dr. Stewart was to bring greetings in his absence. Saran, are you here yet? Perhaps we can just reverse that order with the introduction. So let me please ask Dr. Isis Samaj to come and give the introduction for our speaker. And I might add as a way of introduction of our introducer that one of the things that we've done to commemorate Louise Bennett's centenary is that our course special author, West Indian special author, has been taught this semester on Louise Bennett, and Dr. Samaj Hall is a lecturer for that course. Thank you.
so much. Good evening, everyone. All right, I just have a few minutes. Professor Mervyn Morris, over here, on the left. I seek to keep this introduction as sweet and as brief as your poem, Heritage. In fact, the poem is so short and perfect that I beg you to permit me to recite Heritage as my incantation tonight. I begin. Whispering ancestors enfold me in their loving, ghostly immanence. The end. So, in the words of Waldane Walker, let the free people big up on a block. No, I won't. I won't. I saw Jama Uman Konido. Ay. Let me settle down and say this. It was more than 50 years ago that Mervyn Morris wrote the following call to action. This is a quote. I believe Louise Bennett to be a poet. By many people whose taste and judgment on other matters I respect, she is regarded more or less as a local joke. A good, high-spirited joke, but in the end, only a joke. I believe it is time we took Louise Bennett more seriously. And because Professor Morris is a professor, he crafted a brilliant essay to suggest literary reasons for doing so. But it's important to note that Professor Morris first wrote on reading Louise Bennett seriously in 4 installments in the Gleaner newspaper during June of 1963. This is to say that, like the iconic subject of his lecture tonight, Morris too wrote with a mind for the people of Jamaica en masse, and not just for the higher education elites that would read the words published in academic journals. His ability to connect with students is why he was such an endearing creative writing and West Indian literature professor here in the Department of Literatures in English. His ability to connect with fellow poets is why he was able to write with Oko Anora and Mikey Smith. And his ability to connect with audiences worldwide is why he was Independent Jamaica's first poet laureate from 2014 to 17. But it is for his ability to connect with Louise Bennett Coverley, her written work, her staged work, and her voiced personas that we are gathered here this evening. Professor Morris is arguably the foremost Louise Bennett scholar. I've already noted his 1963 publication of On Reading Louise Bennett Seriously, but he also edited and published Bennett's selected poems in 1982, as well as her radio monologues, Anti Rochuse, in 1993. The books were both published locally via Sangsters. Then in 2014, he published Miss Louise Bennett and Jamaican Culture via Ian Randall Publishers. I felt it necessary to note that his works on Jamaica's cultural icon have all, quite remarkably, been published here in Jamaica, so we should clap for that. Professor Morris's scholarship is wide and far-reaching. In addition to works on Louise Bennett, he has amassed a hefty publication list, from which I will highlight Is English with Speaking and Other Essays in 1999, Making West Indian Literature in 2005, and 6 books of poetry that include I've Been There, Sort of, in 2006, and that's where you can find the very brief and very sweet Heritage. Professor Morris was appointed Professor Emeritus of Creative Writing and West Indian Literature at the University of the West Indies, Mona, in 2003. He has taught in the Department of Literatures in English since 1970, and he was head in 1979 and served another 3-year headship starting in 1988. He was Deputy Dean of the Faculty of Arts and General Studies in the late 1980s. He has also been a visiting lecturer, visiting professor, and writer-in-residence at various universities in the United Kingdom and the United States. Professor Morris's other accomplishments and awards include the NCOBA Hall of Fame, the CPTC Cultural Medal of Honor, Order of Merit for Jamaica, Silver Musgrave Medal for Poetry, and the 1958 Rhodes Scholarship. His lecture tonight is titled The Cunning Louise Bennett, Values and Craft. Please join me in welcoming Professor Mervyn Morris to give this 13th annual Edward Baugh Distinguished Lecture.
Thank you very much, Isis, for that generous introduction. Let me say I am honored to have been invited to give this year's Edward Baugh lecture. I am happy to join in honoring Eddie, my distinguished friend, who has contributed so much to our understanding and enjoyment of literature and to whom I am indebted for many instances of personal and professional support. I've been asked to talk about Louise Bennett, and I'm going to talk about her values and some of her skills as a poet. The title of my lecture is The Connie Louise Bennett. For Connie, C-U-N-N-Y, as an adjective, the Dictionary of Jamaican English gives us cunning, clever, shrewd, tricky. Louise Bennett was all of these. I believe in laughter, she declared, and she also said, I have found a medium through which I can pretend to be laughing. What did she mean by that? What behind, beyond, or through the laughter did she care about? What were her values, and how did she come by them? Born on North Street 100 years ago, she grew up in Kingston with her mother and her grandmother, Mimi. Her father, who had owned a bakery in Spanish Town, died when she was only 7. At the age of about 10, Louise, who had not previously traveled outside of Kingston, except the Spanish Town, accompanied her grandmother, Mimi, on a visit to her family home in St. Mary. And that was Louise's introduction to rural Jamaica. A colonial schoolchild growing up in Kingston, she attended Ebenezer and Calabar elementary schools, and then from 1933 until 1936 St. Simon's College, and from 1936 until 1938 Excelsior High. She was composing verse in standard English until, struck by a market woman's vivid remark, she wrote her first Jamaican dialect poem. Her schoolmates were delighted and asked for more. She began to wonder why more of our poets and writers were not taking more of an interest in the kind of language usage and the kind of experiences of living which were all around us, she said. Wesley Powell, who founded Excelsior, saw a value in her creativity. And impresario Eric Chalk Talk Coverley witnessed her performance at an Excelsior prize-giving ceremony, and with the help of her mother, persuaded her to take part in the 1936 Christmas morning concert at Coke Memorial Hall, which he organized. Now, though Jamaica's official language is English, the first language of most Jamaicans is, as everybody knows, Creole, Jamaican Creole, in which words borrowed or derived from various languages, English predominantly, continue with structures retained from Africa. Miss Lou, in one of her radio monologues, says, Jamaica dialect did start when we English forefathers did start must and bound with African ancestors to stop talk to them African language altogether and learn to talk so-so English. When Louise Bennett began her career, the vernacular she employed was usually called dialect or patois, sometimes spelled P-A-T-W-A. She was resisted by some who claimed to regret a departure from what they called proper English, and approved by many, the majority, who enjoyed her humor and found her language authentic. After leaving Excelsior, she registered for a correspondence course in journalism from the Regent Institute in London, and also took courses in domestic science at Kingston Technical School, and private lessons in history and English. Her first book, Jamaica Dialect Verses, appeared in 1942. Then shortly after one of her poems had been broadcast by Archie Lindo on ZQI, Jamaica's first radio station, she accepted an invitation to recite at a dinner party. She was well received, and although he had previously shown no interest, the managing director of the Gleaner Company, who was one of the guests, now offered to publish some of her poems in the Gleaner. On the 23rd of May 1943, the Gleaner began to publish each Sunday Jamaica in Dialect, a column of Louise Bennett poems. The response of the public was overwhelmingly positive, though then, as now, there were people writing to say no one will ever be able to speak the standard language again if Louise Bennett is allowed to continue. As she remarked in a presentation here at Mona, me never take no notice. Gleaner never take no notice, for Gleaner was a cell. Soon she was receiving invitations to perform at churches and for women's clubs and at drama festivals. Sometimes she was asked to come and see and comment on dramatizations of her poems. Traveling up and down the country, she deepened her understanding of Jamaican language and folklore and oral history. Late in 1943, she enrolled at Friends College in St. Mary to do courses in sociology and social welfare. Already drawn to helping others, she taught literacy classes in a national program, and in a poem wrote, "So me go and teach you teach Jane, Jane teach one next Maddie, that's Maddie teach Maddie, so till we spread literacy." She attended the launch of the Jamaica Federation of Women, founded by Lady Molly Huggins, wife of the governor, Sir John Huggins, in 1944, and published a poem called Banza Woman. Part of it reads, "The woman them turn out to hear how Federation go on. Me never see such different grade and kind of woman from the barn. Full dress, half dress, tidy, so-so, from bare eye to square cut glass, high and low, mingled, suspended, every different kind of class." Yes, I like suspended. The Federation enjoyed the attendance, and she was asked to do promotional work for them. Increasingly involved in performing and assessing performance, she began to feel the need for formal training. Someone at the Federation told her of an opportunity, and just in time, she assembled the necessary documents and submitted an application. She was awarded a 1945 British Council Scholarship to the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art, RADA, the famous drama school in London, where she studied until 1947. She was a good student, but looking back years later, she remarked, "I just let them know that I didn't come to lose an accent, or to lose anything really, but to get some technical knowledge of the theater and whatnot. I didn't come to lose any of the cultural things that I had acquired." So she had a colonial education, but in her Jamaican experience, there were countervailing influences. As a child, she was fascinated by the drums she could hear at nights coming from the hills, and she loved to watch the John Kuna dancers at Christmas. Introducing a book on West Indian poetry, she wrote, "All the things in our oral tradition, handed down to us from generation to generation, were very much alive and vibrant around and about me. I was excited by them, though I sensed that they were not continued respectable. They were not the things to which one should aspire, not the things that one should desire to learn about or indulge in. In fact, they were to be deplored and despised as coming from the offspring of slaves who were illiterate, uncultured, and downright stupid. The general and accepted trend was to be as European as possible." Her mother and grandmother, Mimi, were crucially important in developing the values, the cultural self-confidence Louise came to exemplify. When it became clear that Louise wanted to be a writer, Her mother, an accomplished dressmaker, respected the desire. "If you can write as well as I can make a frock," she said, "you will have a successful career." And later, it was she who encouraged Louise to accept the many invitations to perform her work, whether she would be paid or not. The word, she thought, would spread. Louise's grandmother fostered her interest in African Jamaican culture. "It was in Mimi's lap," Louise said, "that I fell in fascination with our folklore and learned all about this rich heritage of songs, legends, folk customs, and proverbs. It was as a child visiting St. Mary with Mimi that she attended her first Dinky Mini, an African custom for banishing grief, a function held every night for 8 nights after a death to cheer up bereaved relatives. There is notable similarity between the Dinky Mini and some of Louise Bennett's work, which is often confronting hardship with laughter. As she explains about the Dinky Mini, no sadness is allowed at the Dinky. Gaiety and jollity prevail. The demand for continuous gaiety stimulates the imagination and sets the mood for displaying creative talent. The Dinky Mini Tekinti Kiba Atbon, an expression grandmother Mimi often used. Another family influence was a great aunt, Aunt Hilda, who used to take part in Marcus Garvey marches. Aunt Hilda would sing, "Ethiopia, the land of the Savior, march on to victory, let Africa be free." Louise told an interviewer, "This sort of thing and this sort of black dignity affected me. There was the fusion of European and African tendencies, but as I say in my verses, the African was the strongest of the cultural patterns." Primarily concerned to investigate and promote African elements in Jamaican heritage, she acknowledged other streams. Quote, "All the folklore and the culture that we have," she said, "come from the different people who have lived in this country. When the African culture and the European culture buck up on Africa, when the Asian culture and the European culture buck up on African culture in the Caribbean people, we stir them up and blend them to a flavor. We shake them up and move them to a beat. We wheel them and we turn them and we rock them and we sound them and we temper them. And larks the living sweet." She often pokes fun at colonial education, but does not disown the knowledge she acquired. "At the beginning of my career," she told Dennis Scott, "what I knew most about were the English poets." And from time to time she alludes to English or American poetry, such as in The Burial of Sir John Moore at Corunna, whose rhythms she imitates ironically. "Not a stone was fling, not a samphire sting, not a soul gone bad and low rated, not a fight broke out, not a bad word shout, as independence was celebrated." Such as "Mary Had a Little Lamb" in Bedtime Story, such as "Sammy Interest," which, critical of rote learning, gives new meaning to a phrase in Longfellow's Excelsior, "the accent of that unknown tongue." In her radio monologue, similarly, there are allusions to Gilbert and Sullivan, "A Policeman's Lot Is Not a Happy One," and to Tennyson, "The Charge of the Light Brigade," as well as to Anansi, Jamaican proverbs and Jamaican folk songs. Very generous with her knowledge, time, and energy, she was a mentor to many, cheerfully guiding would-be actors, would-be scholars, would-be social workers. When she received the Norman Manley Award for Excellence, the citation remarked, "Louise Bennett is not only respected by her theatre colleagues, she's not only respected by her theatre colleagues, she is loved. They speak with pleasure, not only of her great talent and professional discipline, but also of her human warmth and her commitment to Jamaica." Marjorie Wiley, has spoken of the debt of gratitude owed by many researchers, both local and foreign, with whom she has shared her collections, insights, informants, and to whom she has generously given cues and clues. Joan Andrea Hutchinson has testified, she was always there for me when I needed advice, and we would talk and talk, sometimes for hours. A story told by Easton Lee exemplifies Miss Lou's concern for others. Though he was not at first aware of what she was doing, she selected and trained him to be her successor at the Jamaica Social Welfare Commission. She would give me part of a group to work with, he said, while she worked with others, and she would observe what I was doing and offer suggestions. My trips to the country with her became a regular feature, till one day this Connie Jama woman asked me to go to a group out in Maypen because she was not well and she couldn't possibly cancel the appointment. When I joined welfare, succeeding her as drama recreation officer, she generously agreed to overlap with me for a month to help me cut my eye teeth. And she worked for the month without remuneration. She alerted me to the challenges of the job, he says. Challenges mainly because our clientele were persons of a wide variety of levels of education, occupation, expectations, various ages, living standards, and positions in their community. All this we had to be sensitive and responsive to. But she also reminded me that there was much to learn from interaction with them. She knew that our people, no matter how poor, how humble, had more to teach us than we to teach them. Louise Bennett had a lifelong habit of respect. Her mother's customers came from a wide social range, and Louise was taught to respect them all. Everybody was a lady, the fish lady, the yam lady, the store lady, the teacher lady. And she was instructed to be thankful. Her mother, she told Barbara Gludon, used to say, Bibsy, whatever happened to you, give thanks. Give thanks for what you are blessed with. And when you give thanks for everything and to everyone, remember, give thanks to God. When the entrepreneur who published the first Louise Bennett book sued in defense of his claim that their contract gave him ownership of Jamaica Dialect Verses and subsequent books by Louise, she published a poem called Old Puss, which included the following stanzas. Sue the gal for what you work for, what our own brains search and find. Sue the gal for our own money, what a worthless, dirty swine. Man like that must dead bad man. Man like that must come to grief. Them should pass a law if start hang man like that for thief. She told a researcher, Mary Jane Hewitt, that after her rage subsided, she was ashamed of having used her talents in anger. She was expressing Christian remorse. As Lorna Goodison has affirmed, Miss Lou was a do-good woman. She believed in the power of goodness, kindness, mercy, and generosity. Her poems inhabit a continuum extending between celebration and judgment, between purposeful satire and sheer comedy. In poems such as Cousin Joe, Moon and Mango, Love Letter, Roast Turkey, judgment seems to be a factor less important than the sense of fun, an infectious joy in the richness of personality and incident. Many of the poems suggest sympathy with the small man, engaged in a struggle against systems he does not control, such as in Sarah Chice and in Census, though ultimate approval is qualified by irony. Many of the poems expose people ashamed of being Jamaican or ashamed of being black. They ridicule class and color prejudice, as in White Picnic, or new governor, but are more frequently concerned to tackle black self-contempt, as in tramcar, pass for white, or soldier work, or to express or promote pride in being black, as in nigger yard or Monday gown. Her work promotes balance, common sense, realistic self-appraisal. It undermines pretension of whatever kind, and the pretensions of a newly independent nation are not exempt. The critical judgment is sometimes fairly explicit, as in Dry Foot Boy, Banza Killing, Hirso, Voting, and Problem, and Back to Africa. But much more often it is complicated by irony, as for example in No Little Twang, Jamaica Woman, Proverbs, Uriah Preach, Tramcar, Pass for White, Colonization in Reverse, and Independence Dignity. Let's pause a little at Pass for White. Pass for White begins. Miss Jane just here from America, her daughter proudly write, she says she passed her exam, but she passed in there for white. No, she said she failed her exam. Sorry, that's my mistake. She said she failed her exam, but she passed in there for white. The poem's central meaning is focused in rhymes and puns. There are repeated rhymes on white and pass, and in the two stanzas which vary from those, the rhymes again suggest the opposing values, education versus complexion, DR meaning doctor or PhD versus color bar. Near the end, there's superbly functional wordplay. The gal put a laugh and say, "It served America right. 5 years back, them Jim Crow him, now them pass it Pickney White." But passing Pickney White alludes to a Jamaican proverb. Every John Crow thinking Pickney White. At birth, the John Crow looks white, then after a while its feathers go black. The poem is commenting on the relationship between color and class, not only in the United States, but also in Jamaica. The John Crow, Jim Crow wordplay criticizes inter alia the father's pride in his daughter having passed for white. Because, more often than not, the speaker of a Louise Bennett poem is female, her work reflects a range of female perspectives, as Lloyd Brown and Caroline Cooper, to mention only two, have shown. Jamaica Woman, written later than the pieces elsewhere, than the pieces in Jamaica Labrish, is a more comprehensive gender statement than appears elsewhere in Louise Bennett's work. You can see it clearly? Okay. Well, here's an audio clip of Louise Bennett reading it in a studio reading. It's from
this one is called. This one is called Jamaica Woman. Jamaica Woman. Jamaica Woman connoisseur. Is all them gin also. Look how long them liberated and the man them never know. Look how long Jamaica woman, mother, sister, wife, sweetheart, out a road and in a yard, pan and dominate her part. From maroon and take her body bounce bullet back per man, to when nowadays gal picnic turn spelling bee champion. From the grassroots to the hilltop in profession, skill and trade, Jamaica woman take her time down, mount and make the grade. Some back a man a push, some side a man a hold him hand, some a lick sense in a man head, some a help him pan him plan. Neck and foot to foot with man, she buckle hold her own, while man a call her so rib. Woman a turn backbone. Hey, long time before woman lib broke out over foreign land, Jamaica females was a work them liberated plan. Jamaica woman know she strong, she know she talawa, but she no want her picnic them to start call her poopa. So the conny drama woman go on like pantsuit is a style, and Jamaica man no know she wear the pantsuit all the while. So Jamaica woman coaxing family budget from explode. I saw Jamaica man a sing, woman a heavy load, hey. But the cunning Jama woman ban her belly, bite her tongue, catch water, put pot on fire and just dig her to a ground. For woman look their dungle, some rooted more than some, but as long as found a crotch dungle heap, woman luck must come. Little by little man start praise her, day by day the praises grow. So him praise her, so it's sweeter, for she wonder if he know.
That's a pretty typical studio performance by Louise. You notice that the things that are not words are a crucial part of her performance. You know, it's the way she projects the personality. Jamaican women, the poem says, have been liberated at least since the 18th century, when Nani was a leader of the Maroons fighting against British colonizers. And long before Woman Lib broke out over foreign land, Jamaica female was a worker liberated plant. The women's liberation movement abroad broke out, that is, like a war or an epidemic. And the liberation of women in Jamaica was not only earlier, the poem suggests, but also different. Though the Jamaican woman knows she is in charge, she will pretend she is not. She does not want to be called Pupa, which is, of course, a title of patriarchal authority. In spite of the slurs of the Bible, woman is so rib, and the Jamaican folk song, Woman a Heavy Load, when Saturday morning comes, she will do what she needs to do, be the backbone of the family and a creative manager coaxing family budget from explode. Some budgets may get broken, this one threatens to explode. Above all, she will be patient, confident her day will come. Woman lock their dungle, some rooted more than some, but as long as foul a crotch dungle heap, woman luck must come. She will be rightly valued eventually. Things of value buried in the garbage may one day come to light. Little by little, man seems to value woman more than he did. And this is a source of pleasure to her. The final line, for she wonder if you know, is of course ironic, playing against the early assertion, look how long the man them liberated, and the man them never know. Now they know, if they will listen, and understand in performance, Louise Bennett often made the final line sound loving. In the poem as printed, there is plenty to receive. Can you put the poem back up, please? In the poem as printed, there is plenty to receive. Some of it not likely to be noticed in performance time. A jammer is a folk song, sung to accompany communal field digging, or sometimes to accompany dancing and games at wakes. Woman a Heavy Load is a well-known jammer, and a jammer is an implement for digging. So in Digger to a Ground, one of the ideas suggested in Jammer Woman is followed through. In Rooted, meaning buried deeply, the metaphor suggests that the luck will grow, some rooted more than some. But rooted also means more than that. It means, in a skywriting article, Miss Lou explained that when a participant in Mile is rooted by the spirit, a long time, a minimum of 7 days, and a special ceremony are required before the person returns to ordinary consciousness, refreshed. The Mayalist should never hurt people. The power is for healing, which may give particular force to the contrast in the poem between the liberated Jamaica woman and the woman Lib that broke out over foreign land. Miss Lou Miss Lou resisted being characterized as a performing artist primarily. But the poems have many features characteristic of oral performance. They often present contrasting voices in dialogue. They make skillful use of repetition, rhetorical lists, memorable antitheses, careful balance, aphorisms, as in her Ragin poem, Man Can't Better Than Dead, where dead with a capital D means death, as in onomatopoeia, as in Moonlight and Mango Tree, and every minute biff, boof, back. As fast as me they put them away, as fast as them a drop. And their verbal coinages that she creates, floods, bonus, and so on. They play, the poems play with puns, which are sometimes, in some of the poems, pointedly emphasized. A kind of humor that can work very well in performance, as in music hall or pantomime. A persona trying to recall the name Excelsior begins running through the alphabet X, A, B, C, X, E, X, E, but can't remember well. X, F, X, G, X, H, X, I, X, J, X, K, X, L, X, L, that's it. Miss Nib, KNIBB, is misremembered as Miss Fountain Pen. And in an exam, a child is asked about the British Isles when it's only 3 isles you know good: Kerosene Isle, Castor Isle, and Coconut Isle. Rex Nettleford tells us, especially if you're threatening to undervalue that kind of thing, Rex Nettleford tells us no one should worry that many of these poems will have to be performed in order to survive. Now, the impact of a presentation may depend not only on the skills of the performer, but also on the audience and the occasion. Let's listen now to Miss Lou performing Jamaica Woman here in this theatre.
Jamaica Woman turn it up. It's all them gin also. Look how long them liberated and the man them never know. Look how long Jamaica Woman, mother, sister, wife, sweetheart, out a treat and in a yard upon a dominate her part. From Brandy, nanny take her body, bounce, pull it back on man. So tell when nowadays girl pick the tongue, spelling bee champion. From the grassroots to the hilltop, in profession, skill and trade, Jamaica Woman take her time the mount and make me breathe. Some back a man a push. Some side a man a hold him hand. Some a lick sense in a man head. She buckle hold her own, while man a call her source a rib, woman a turn back. Jamaica woman know she strong, she know she talawa, but she don't want her picture them to start call her cooper. So the cunny jammer woman, while like pantsuit is a star. And Jamaica man, you know she wear the trousers all the way. While Jamaica woman walks in the family but she come explode, Jamaica man has seen about the woman I heavy no one. But the cunning Jamaica woman, man a belly bite her tongue, catch water put pot on fire, and this big eye to a drum. But woman love their jungle. Some rooted more than some, but as long as powder catch down the heap, woman luck must come. Little by little them start praise her. Day by day the praises grow. For them trees are so sweet. I should like that just
Now, as you will have guessed, the audience was mainly women students. Responding to their uproarious response, Louise adjusted the end of the poem. Not if him know, but if them know. She adapted text from time to time. Dryfoot Boy, for example, was initially about a Jamaican in England. You think him come a foreign land, come catch bad foreign cold. She often presented the poem as about someone returning to Jamaica. You think him go a foreign land, go catch bad foreign cold. Though the hot potato reference is still suggesting England. Boy, Kiro, no chat to me with no hot potato in your mouth. Colonization in reverse lost some stanzas in London in 1983. Stanzas run, or when them catch up England and start play them different role, some will settle down to work and some will settle for the dole. Jane said the dole is not too bad because they paying she £2 a week to seek a job that suit her dignity. Me say, Jane will never find work at the rate how she da look. For all day she stay pan on fan couch and read love story book. No doubt, these stanzas were omitted to avoid offending West Indian migrants in the audience. But the cut removes the suggestion planted in settle, which is said twice, that some of those who settled in the Caribbean were lazy and inclined to put on airs like the immigrant Jane. What a devilment of England, in face war and pray the worst, but a wondering how them going stand colonizing in reverse. As in most of her poems, Bennett adopts or adapts a version of the iambic ballad quatrain. In the British model, the norm is a line of 4 iambic feet, followed by lines with 3, then 4, then 3, with a rhyme scheme A, B, C, B. And each pair of lines tends to have 14 syllables, or their equivalent in time. But stress variations are frequent in Louise Bennett's verse, and there are disputes about the nature of her prosody. She points each line for meaning and dramatic effect, and how she performs her poems has been well described by Gordon Roller. Quote, she uses her voice like a musical instrument, breaking lines, resolving stresses, playing infinitely with shades of sound while operating within the confines of metric strictness, and establishing a tension between meter and rhythm, like a good blues or calypso singer. She does not always use a version of the ballad quatrain. For specific purposes, she sometimes works with very different rhythm patterns. Mouta Massi, Liza, you no hear you, Mumadaka, you make you mouth so and galang, hear you, Mumadaka, you. In the first stanza of Mouta Massi, Liza, it quotes the folk song, but later stanzas play variations on it, and the last stanza begins, they must have put you so, missus, is way that go with it. From me born, me never see nobody chat like you. The line, nobody chat like you, is particularly skillful, hurrying along like a chatterbox. The crafting of Cousin Joe is to be admired similarly. The persona visiting Kingston is amazed where 4 road meet to see Cousin Joe that stand up in the middle of the street. The poet's technical skill meets the challenge of suggesting marching rhythm and the commands of the man in authority. I never seen nobody dressed it so from I was born. Him just walking up and down like him own the whole of town, just telling everybody, move on. Joe's power is to stop traffic or send it on. Joe's power to stop traffic or send it on is made vivid by the onomatopoeic words ram, zam, carefully placed where they attract rhythmic emphasis. And our war gets similar weight as the country cousin begins to understand Joe's function. Same time Joe raised him hand, and same time the bus stop ram. And me see one motor car just passed me by, so zam. Me said to myself, oh, them have to wait for Joe. And not one of them can go on so till Joe raise him hand, so tell to me cousin Joe. So tell to me cousin Joe, say, move on. In pedestrian crosses, the speaker, pedestrian crosses. The speaker who is driving or riding, it's not a pedestrian, it's a driver or a rider, is irritated by a stream of people in the pedestrian crossing. Behind the speaker, there is traffic, and at least one horn is being blown impatiently. But at the crossing, pedestrians have the right of way, and they keep on coming, thinking to seize a chance before yet another pedestrian holds up the traffic. The speaker catches the eye of a policeman, and therefore hypocritically yields. In this poem, Bennett is working with anapests. Tititum, tititum. If I cross it across, make you cross, make me pass, them a crossing is crosses, you know. Could the line, you know, see car and truck back on me, hear the agony man with a blow? Now my chance come at last as them cross are going past, must beat the old woman to this. By the crook or the crook or the crook, Lord, one police and look, pass on lady, you're right away this. From the east, from the west, like a plague, like a pest, them a come 1-1, 2-2. This crossing has stopped them from pass, make we cross. Stop we from pass, make them cross, but nothing that stop them from cross, make we pass. Then a crossing is crosses the truth. The poem alludes to the song Dip Them Bedward. Bedward, the messianic leader of a church in Overstown, used to conduct baptisms in the river nearby. And in one version of the song, the first verse runs, some come from the east like a big neck of beast, we go dipping at the healing stream. Some come from the west like a plague, like a pest, we go dipping at the healing stream. And the chorus runs, dip them bedward, dip them in the healing stream. Dip them sweet but not too deep, dip them to cure bad feeling. The allusion implies that the road is like a river to which multitudes travel, and that bad feeling has been engendered by the pedestrian crossing. In Jamaica Elevate, the persona writes to Mark, so much that things happen so fast and quick, my head still feel giddy. Biff referendum, boof election, BAPS, independence drop on me. Which implies that independence was given not one, and that it might be something of a misfortune. Independence drop on me. Then our pretensions as a nation are mocked in a sort of comic opera rhyme and rhythm. With our independent nations of the Commonwealth of Nations, and we get congratulations from the folks of high careers. We got consuls and ambassadors, and ministers and senators that rub shoulder and dip mouth in heavy world affairs. That rub shoulder and dip mouth, is carefully positioned in all the closeness. At first it seems the poem will be a put down, but it becomes a celebration. Seeing a large newspaper photograph of a man who looks like Father John, the persona exclaims, something bad happened to John, then comes to understand and is happy that the black man in the picture is we new and well-appointed Governor General. Louise Bennett was good at managing shifts in tone. Dirty Tough. Dirty Tough was written during World War II, hence refugee, dumpling refugee. Louise was proud of the poem's continued relevance. In 1986 and 1990, When encouraged by Mutabaruka, she performed a dub poetry version. She substituted dollars for pounds. Cleverly crafted, the poem is mainly about hard times, but draws laughter near the end by directing attention to the persona's corpulence. The price of bread gone up so high that we have to agree to cut we hype on bread and all turn dumpling refugee. And all them Marcus Maddy, they going like fatty sin, all them they were fast with me, I left them to dumpling. And then it swings back to recall the proverbs introduced in stanza 1. Their significance now deepened by cunning rearrangement. In the opening stanza, the positive is given in the first half of each line, the negative in the second. Sun a shine, but things are bright. The pot a boil, little or not. The division is different in the final stanza. There are positives in lines 1 and 3, and negatives in lines 2 and 4. And since the ballad measure, the ballad stanza puts greater rhythmic weight on lines 2 and 4, where the rhythms pause or come to rest, the end of the poem emphasizes the negative, where you can hear the sadness deepen. Things are bright, fickle or not. Water spills, and dirty cover. Proverbs, which are pithy statements, memorable in form and claiming to be wise, are a vital part of our oral tradition. Miss Lou collated more than 1,800 of them in her personal collection and often cites proverbs in her work. Sometimes a poem will illustrate a proverb or proverbs, as in, for example, When Trouble Take Man or in Sweetie Pie. The poem called Proverbs has a more complicated agenda. What may seem at first to be a display of proverbs is, stanza by stanza, the self-exposure of a standoffish, timid, hypocritical talebearer. Like many Bennett poems, it is a dramatic monologue. In dramatic monologue, a single person is presented as speaking or writing, and this person addresses and interacts with one or more persons whose presence we infer from what is said or written. The form encourages irony. What Philip Drew has written of Robert Browning's monologues also happens to apply to Louise Bennett's. In poem after poem, the vital point to observe is that the speaker understands himself and his own situation less thoroughly than the reader, who nevertheless derive all his understanding from the poem. And Robert Langbaum has argued that because we get our information through the speaker, because we must adopt his viewpoint as our entry into the poem, we are forced into at least a temporary sympathy with the person who speaks. Langbaum has identified in the reader's response to dramatic monologue a combination of sympathy and judgment. The woman in Cascas claims that she don't business with them Cascas, but she has been spreading her version of the gossip. The rhythms of her monologue enact the chain of gossip. Them says Maddie tell Miss Terry, and she tell her daughter that Luda walk out and that definite her character. And that's Maddie where tell Miss Terry, says Maddie when no Wingy, says Wingy tell that's Maddie, and that's Maddie must be me. The word definite, perhaps the speaker's mistake for defame, nicely suggests define, hinting that what is argued to be slanderous may have more than an element of truth. When the speaker in a huff declares, "My life is open book," her words carry meanings she does not intend. She has been revealed as an enthusiastic rumor monger. Similarly, when a substitute preacher abuses the privilege of the pulpit in attacking enemies of his family, his mother, the speaker of the poem, is proud of what, as described by her, is clearly unchristian behavior. But the vitality of the monologue draws us into sharing, nevertheless, her wicked delight. Listen to the relish with which the mother recounts the happenings in church, noting with approval Uriah's emphatic skill.
Proud mother. For me family is not pure. Me daughter Suda teach. And when rain fall or parson sick, me son Uriah preach. Sunday gone rain come settle parson couldn't left him yard. People did in a church, and so Uriah get abroad. Him climb upon the pulpit, him lean over, him look down, him look upon all with enemy, and him lash them with him tongue. The first one him take on was lies, who tell the lie for me. Him stare in our face and say, thou art the mounty wouty. Him say, thou art the rubber some, thou art the metal some. And then him look upon me and say, thou art the slaughtered lamb. Him take on Teacher Brown, for when he was a little tot, Teacher beat him one good day because him called Teacher top knot. So Raya get him revenge now, for him stare straight on Brown and say, let him that sit on the house, top knot, come down. Raya take on Butcher Jones, who noted for said scraps his meat. Him say, thou shalt not give thy neighbors to the Lop Street. Him tell them off, them know it's them heart full to the brim. But as Raya in a pulpit, them can't back answer him. So when church member mail me no answer till it reach a rainy day. When pastor stay home, and Uriah preach.
That is from a CD which is still available. CD is called Lord the Rhythm Suite. It was produced and directed by Joan Andrea Hutchinson and published in 1999 by Sangster's Bookstores. I can also recommend a recording of the 1983 performance in London, originally available from Island Records, as Yes Me Dear Miss Lou Live. Though I can't find it for purchase now, but parts of it are on YouTube. That's basically what I wanted to say this evening. Louise Bennett was a good person and a skillful poet.
Now in Jamaica we never say goodbye, we say walk good. If you're running, walking, driving, flying, cycling, we say walk good. Now when I do like that, I want you to say walk good. It's a little song. Walk good on your way and good Duffy walk with you. Walk good every day and good Duffy walk with you. Walk good every day, walk good on your way. Walk good follow you if you just walk good. Walk good on your way and good Duffy walk with you. Walk good every day.
Thank you, Mervyn, for demonstrating so brilliantly why we need to take Louise Bennett. Thank you, Mervyn, and thank you. So the Department of Sociology, Psychology and Social Work, them a whole one book launch by one man named, a book by one man named Orlando Patterson. Una know him? The book name, The Confounding, well the book name in English, The Confounding Island Jamaica and the post-colonial predicament. the confounding island Jamaica, and the post-colonial predicament. Not good. Okay. Good try. And that's on Friday, November 29th at 5:30 p.m. at the E. Nigel Harris Council Room, UWI Regional Headquarters, Mona. And just to let you know as well that the exhibition on Miss Lou being held also at the regional headquarters, I believe in the lobby, that ends on December 10th. So please go quickly and see it before. I thought she was saying it ends December 1, but go on quick and see it before it's done. I'm liking this, so thank you. Devote thanks. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to switch. But no, I was not, but I've been living here longer than some young people and students in the audience. So I think I've picked up a little something. Thank you everyone for coming. You've been a wonderful audience. We had some little technical issues, but thanks for your patience and thank you for all your questions and your comments afterwards, and Mervyn fielded them really well and marvelously. Mervyn, thank you so much. As I said at the beginning, it's like family. Mervyn coming to give the lecture today. And Professor Baugh did mention just outside that he and Mervyn, I think, were undergraduates at UWI together, that you entered, they came to UWI the same year, and Jean Small was saying as well that she was here when both Mervyn and Professor Baugh. So it's like a big family. And you know, all of you like Jean and Prof. OJ who come out whenever we have events and give your support and help us to feel that we're doing something worthwhile. Thank you for coming. Mervyn, thank you for your marvelous lecture and giving us so much information and knowledge about Louise Bennett and her work and her role in Jamaican society and how she continues to be important. Thank you to NITS for recording the lecture. Thank you to the staff of the Philip Sherlock Center for all your work. Thank you so much to Trio Ambiance. You are with us, I think, almost every time, every year we do this, and you bring such a special touch to the event. Thank you so much. And apologies for the unannounced rearrangement of the program. Thank you to Dr. Simaj Hall for that really riveting and interesting introduction. It was really great. Thank you to the staff of the department, Toru Nakamura, Venice Gordon Francis, and Antoinette Jackson, who are the people who work behind the scenes and have done so much to bring this lecture and to prepare for the event tonight. I think that's it. Thanks all for coming, and we'll see you again next year.